Hello everybody, this is Kristen with Peachy Keen Designs with another sewing tutorial. I am going to show you how to make a pot holder today. This is a very simple, a very basic, very easy, beginner-friendly pot holder. You are going to need some basic materials. You are going to need two 10 by 10 pieces of fabric. I do recommend 100% cotton, as it won't melt like a poly blend will. Poly means that there's like a plastic blend to the material. So I do recommend using cotton. It may singe or scorch, you know, you may get like the burn marks, but you're not going to have it melt on you, or you shouldn't, I should say. You are also going to need two pieces of quilt batting, 100% cotton for the same reasons as the fabric, and one 9x9 piece of Insulbrite. Insulbrite is great for reflecting that heat, and we only need one because we're going to put it between our batting layers for extra protection. You will need obviously your sewing machine, matching or contrasting fabric. That is up to you and how you want your finished look to be. You will need some sort of object to push out the corners that is blunt and not going to poke out your stitches. I use chopsticks. So a chopstick, I find those at the thrift stores all the time. You will also need an iron and an ironing mat. You will need a water or heat erasable pen. This is a heat erase. This is the friction pen. Let's see if I can get this to focus, by Pilot. They are phenomenal. And then you are going to need some clips or pins. I do recommend having both on hand as a sewist. For this project, I think the Wonder Clips will be just adequate. And then you will also need a 3-inch piece of ribbon, whether you make it your own or you cut it to size. This is optional. This is for the hanging loop. I will show in the video it with it. This is just some twill tape, I think is what it's called, that I bought. So anyways, let's go ahead and get this started. Correction, there's a few more things that you'll need. You'll need a ruler and scissors, a rotary cutter, that type of thing. But all right, so first course of action, we are going to place our batting, one piece of our batting to one of our 10 by 10 fabric squares, and then you want to just try to get this centered as good as possible. I do eyeball it, but you could measure off the sides, and it should give you about a 1/2 inch gap all the way around the outside. And then when you have your batting down, we are going to take our ruler and we are going to go corner to corner on our material here and go with our pen and make a line. The reason we're doing this is we are going to quilt this to the material. Like that, and then you're going to repeat on the other side to make an X like that. So we have our X here, and then we're just going to set this piece to the side for a moment, and we are going to prep our other piece of fabric and batting. So again, this is our right side, so we want right side down, wrong side up. We are again going to take our batting and center our batting on here, just like that first piece of fabric that we did. However, this time we're going to put our Insulbrite on top of the batting, and then we're going to make that X along here again. All right, so we have our X wrote on there. It's kind of hard to see, but there is, oopsies, there is an X here. So we are now going to take it over to our sewing machine, and we are going to stitch on this X. Alrighty, so I've taken the fabric over to my machine, and it's hard to see in this lighting, but we are going to stitch right down our lines. Make sure to backstitch at the beginning and end, and it doesn't matter if you start with this piece that has the Insulbrite or you start with the other piece, because we're going to do the exact same process on both of them. This is just quilting our batting to our material. So now, you don't have to go fast, take your time. Again, make sure you're back stitching at the beginning and end, and when you start sewing, make sure your needle is always down position. And then we are going to go to the other side. All right, so we got our X quilted on here. We've trimmed up all of our pieces, our threads. And now we are going to grab our other one. And so this one is just the batting. And starting with that down, back stitching, and then we're gonna do both X's here again. Alrighty, so now we have this side with that X sewn onto it. We have our other piece that has, again, that cotton batting and then the Insul Bright on top. Now we are ready to make our sandwich. So it doesn't matter which one you lay face down, but one of these you're gonna lay face down with the pretty side up. You're gonna put the other one right on top so the pretty sides are together. And then you want to make sure that you even it up all the way around on all the edges. Once you do that, you want to mark an opening about 4 inches wide. So maybe even a little bit wider like that than that if you are newer to sewing, but that is where we are going to turn it around. So we are going to start here and we are going to sew all the way around and then stop at this line. If you are adding in your hanging piece, this is where we are going to put this in now. So fold it over, and really with these hanging loops, you can do just about any size, whatever seems to work best for you. Personally, I cut mine between 3 to 4 inches. So that way I have adequate amount, and then wherever you want it, so whether you want it in the center here, you want it in a corner, that is totally up to you. You are just going to open up the material and you're going to place it inside, and I know it's kind of hard to see because of the same color, but just like that, you're going to place it right inside here. All right, so we're going to place it right inside there like that, and then we are going to clip that in place. These are called Wonder Clips. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them at quilt shops. They are wonderful, pun intended. Go ahead and clip around the outside of your fabric, that way you have it in like held together for you as we go to sew this. Do as many as you need to feel comfortable, or as little. It's totally up to you. You can use pins to clip it around. It again is totally your preference. So once we have this clipped all the way around like that, we are going back to our sewing machine. We're finding those lines and we're going to start here. You want about a 1/2 inch seam allowance, which the way I'm going to line it up is I'm just going to sew with my presser foot on the edge of my batting all the way around. Again, make sure you start with that needle down, and we are going to back stitch at the beginning and end. So forward. Back stitching locks the stitching in place, so it is super important. When you get to the turn, keep your needle down, lift up your presser foot, spin your project, presser foot back down, continue sewing, move clips or pins out of the way as you get to them, and then just keep sewing all the way to the end. I'll be right back. All right, so there's that line. That's our ending line, so we're going to sew down to that line like that. Make sure to back stitch to lock it in place. And now everything is sewn all the way around the outside. Make sure to trim up your threads. Take your time as you're sewing around it to make sure that you get the best like lines. I admittedly was being kind of quick with it, so my lines aren't the straightest. It is totally okay, but take your time. It is not a race. Go and clip your corners to reduce the bulk like this. Okay, so now all of our lines or our corners are clipped, so we're going to go back to that opening, and you're going to reach in, and you're going, for me, I reach my hand in and I like have my fingers in a scissor and I go all the way to the opposite side and I push the fabric, you can see that, push the fabric, oopsies, sorry, push the fabric into my fingers here, and then I go ahead and just pull it out. I find that to be like the easiest method, and take your time. There's a lot of layers that we are turning right side out now, so take your time, work your way around, don't force anything, you're likely to rip stitches at that point. So pull, 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 turn it this side in, and then now grab that blunt tool that you are using to go in and start poking out the corners. Again, like I said, I like to use plastic chopsticks. They seem to work really well. They don't poke out the stitches, and they hold up. So poke out that corner to get nice crisp corners. Now once we have all of our corners poked out like this, there's my hanging loop pulled out here. We are going to go over to our iron and our ironing mat to just give this a nice press before we go around and top stitch it. Make sure that you like kind of rub your fingers on all the edges, making sure that everything has come around, is nice and even, because once we close this, it's done for. You can't really go back and make those corrections afterwards once we get it top stitched. So go ahead and just really feel it around, grab your opening here, get that tucked inside here like this, and now we are going to give this a good iron. All right, so we are going to just press it here. We aren't necessarily trying to go back and forth. We are more just trying to press it. When you go back and forth, you are more likely to distort your fabric. So just give all of the edges a nice press like this. Flip your project over. Do the same thing to the other side, just because this is such a thick project, and it has all those layers of batting. So just give it a good press, and then we are going to go back to our machine. We are now going to top stitch it. For top stitching, you want about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. That makes sure that we go ahead and get this opening closed. So I start with that opening as my starting point. Just making sure I get this pulled together like this. Getting it lined up, needle down, and then we are just going to sew all the way around it in a top stitch. Alrighty, so now we have top stitch all the way around. This is where our opening was, that is closed. With this one I used the matching thread, so it kind of all just blends together, which I really like that look. If you wanted to, you could do a second line of top stitching to kind of get more fancy with a border if you wanted to, but other than that, you're done. And if you make this, I'd love to see videos, pictures, tag me in them, send them to me on Facebook. I would love to see your finished work. Thank you everybody for joining me again, and have a great day.